This video will talk about how BI 360 handles intercompany transactions, specifically eliminations. So there's really two types of ways that BI 360 can handle eliminations. One is we can do them manually. We can design a template that's specific to our organization that'll allow us to enter those transactions in manually, and then they're stored back to the BI 360 data warehouse. We can also do auto eliminations. You can do one or the other or both. It's really up to you and the specific requirements of your organization. And I'm going to show you both options today. So the question that everyone asks is, how do we know what transactions are intercompany related transactions that need to be eliminated? And the way that that works is that within all of the transactions that come into BI 360 from your ERP or from multiple ERPs, those transactions will be flagged as elimination accounts or intercompany elimination accounts. So we know when they come into BI 360 that they need to be eliminated. So I can run an audit report on all of the transactions that came into BI 360. I could run an audit report on all of the transactions that are intercompany related in BI 360. So here you see a group of reports that I've built, all related to different types of eliminations or intercompany transactions. You can see that I have an audit report here, which I'll start with by showing you this today. But I've also got a trial balance, a P&L. These are all my intercompany elimination reports and a balance sheet, and then you'll see that I've also got a couple of minority interest reports as well. So I can do minority interest eliminations as well. So if I go into the intercompany audit report, what this is going to show me is, really all of the transactions that came in, from what entity and what's the corresponding entity, what was the currency that it transpired in, and any amount that was associated with it. So what this is saying is these are all of the elimination accounts, intercompany elimination accounts that came into BI 360. They're also categorized. Now, if you're familiar with BI 360 at all, you'll know that if you don't like the way this particular report looks, you can just go in and change it and build it however you want. But I think everyone gets the idea that you can see all of the transactions that came into BI 360. Okay, so the next step in the process, if I go back into reporting, is I can actually run a report. So if I were to go in and run a P&L, now I'm running this P&L before I've run the elimination process. So you can see that I have 4 separate entities. I have an eliminations column within this report, and then I also have a consolidated column as well. So, you also notice within this report that I can change the currency on the fly. So this report, it was run before the elimination process. Now I'm going to go and actually run the auto elimination process. And the way that I do that is I go into the BI 360 data warehouse. I'm going to go into data, and you'll see that we have rules. So I can create a group of rules that are specific to my eliminations. So in here, if I want to run my intercompany elimination transactions, I can select that, and I can just run this transaction. It's now going to ask me, well, what period would I like to run this transaction for? I'm going to select the first period here for January of 2016. I say OK. And keep in mind, this is all sample demonstration data. I need to pick a scenario. So I'm going to use actuals and OK. And a category. It's going to be my IC main or my intercompany main transactions. I'm going to say OK. And then I can select a tree. So if you're not familiar with this, inside of BI 360, I can create an unlimited number of hierarchical tree structures for things like, geographic region, line of business, whatever it might be. I can create a number of different trees. And here you can see that I have 3. I'm going to go ahead and select all of those trees and say OK. and then I'm going to run the process. So you'll see it's processing, and that quick, my auto eliminations have just run. So now if I were, and that's the process, right? You have a rule for elimination, you run that rule, or maybe you've got a number of rules you can run, and then I can just go back and look at my reporting. So what's the effect of my reporting after running this elimination process? I can go in and pull up that same intercompany consolidation P&L that you saw before. And it's on 2016. You see there's still no eliminations in here, but I'm going to rerun this report now that the elimination process has happened. And what you'll see now is you'll see all of those eliminations are present within the report at this time. Okay? So that is essentially how the auto elimination process works. And now what we can do is we can talk about how you would do this same process if you were to do it manually. So now I'm going to walk you through the manual elimination process, or the manual entry elimination process. And you know, I'm somewhat going to repeat the same process that you saw when I just did the auto eliminations, right? So I can go in and say, you know, show me all the transactions that came in for the period. So again, I'm running that same intercompany transaction report. I'm auditing those transactions, if you will. I can then go in and run my P&L. And you'll see that I've run that P&L for the period of January 2016, and again, I don't have any transactions in the eliminations column. The difference now is I'm not going to go and auto run that rule. I'm actually going to go and manually enter those transactions in. Now, because BI 360, you notice that I went into budgeting here, and because BI 360 has a budgeting solution, that means I have the ability to enter in data into the system. So what you have to do is you have to kind of forget about how you know traditional budgeting systems today, right? You can build a budget form or a forecast form. Within BI 360, I can build a form to capture any kind of data. And an example of that is a manual elimination journal entry form, right? So I'm going to run that form, and you'll notice at the top that I have the parameters. So I'm in 2016, and my category for this intercompany transaction is going to be finished goods. So this is a simple form, and as you know, within BI 360, if you don't like the way this form looks, you know, change it, design it the way that you want. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to pick the United States, and the corresponding entity here will be Canada. I am going to do a cash transaction, and that is going to be for $64,000, right? Then I'm going to do US and Canada again, right? These are drop downs if you wanted these to be, you know, free form. I mean, again, it's all up to you and how you're going to design the form. Select inventory and make that 48,000, and US again, and Canada, and we will but this is other income for 64,000. Oops. Yes, a lot of you are going to be familiar with doing this in Excel. The difference is you're storing it in an Excel spreadsheet. Here I am sending this back to the BI 360 data warehouse, right? So let's do cost of goods sold, 48,000, and I'm done, right? So you can see that it's matching up here for 112,000, and you'll see I have a store button. So what that's doing now is it's storing that data back to the data warehouse for the life of the system. So if I say store, it's now storing that data back. Okay, so it's telling me, congratulations, that data is stored and saved back to the data warehouse. Now you notice that those transactions are gray. If I had another transaction, I could just come back here and start entering that in and then store it again if I was doing an entry for the same period. Now, if I go back into live reporting and I open up that same P&L, you'll see that I don't have eliminations, and that's just because I haven't rerun the report. So if I simply just rerun that report, it essentially acts just like what you saw with the auto eliminations, only I'm now doing it manually. I see all of those transactions that I just entered in manually.